expected.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of The Democratic View. I'm the hostess. My name is Phyllis Italiano, and I have been doing this for a very long time. And with me today, believe it or not, is a neighbor, guy who lives diagonally across from me, but he has a very, very special role in the area that I live in. I live in an area called Clearwater Beach, and he is the president of the Clearwater Beach Association, which is a very special group. I've been to your meetings, and I know what a special group it really is, and what a lovely area we are so lucky to live in.
It's almost a secret, but it's no longer such a secret.
Well,
we all love it.
Yeah, well, we do love it. It is a very special place. There's no two ways about it. I mean, my son once said to me, the smartest thing you ever did in your life was buy this house. And I tend to agree with him.
For many reasons, yes.
So tell us first a little bit about you.
Me, so I was born in Toledo, Ohio, educated at Ohio State University, and then I came to New York and I got involved in the music business. I became a tour manager for rock bands.
Really?
And after 5 years of doing that, I wanted to become an entertainment lawyer, knowing that the distractions of Manhattan would interfere with my studying. I went back home to Toledo and went to the University of Toledo College of Law, got my degree, came right back to New York and became an entertainment lawyer. And after about 5 years...
You know, I've known entertainment lawyers because I have connections in the entertainment business.
You probably know a few names in...
Yes, I do.
That was back in '76, I became a lawyer. And what happened was mostly rock and roll, but there was some film work and some books and TV shows, but mostly it was rock and roll music. And many of the people I actually had toured with, were now becoming clients, or I ran into them, in different capacities over different events. And at some point, we had many foreign artists, British rock bands, but also photographers from France and other countries, and they had visa issues, which always seemed to impair their travels and would often delay engagement. So at some point, there was an emergency at this booking agency. They had Rod Stewart and Faces, was a very big band that everyone knows. Rod Stewart,
of course.
Very big band, and they were doing a big tour. And they were near the end of the tour. They had 4 engagements in the New York City area, and their guitar player developed hepatitis, and he couldn't play. And they literally had 36 hours till the next show of the last 4. And there was a guitar player in England who knew their whole set because he had worked on their studio albums. And they needed an emergency visa. So my law firm boss said, I was just a young kid there. I did all the dirty jobs, He said, go down to immigration and solve this. You've got to solve it. They're going to lose this 4 days. They can't make it up because the tour's over. They're going back to England. Wow. And of course, the fans will be terribly disappointed. So knowing this much about immigration law, I said, give me some rock albums, some Rod Stewart albums, give me the contracts. I went down to immigration and I walked out 4 hours with the promise they would telex a visa approval to the London consulate overnight so he could go there at 9 in the morning and get his visa. And when I came back and told them at this agency, I got a standing ovation. I said, this is
that's always nice, a standing ovation.
This is my kind of work. So I ended up doing visas, specializing in visas for artists and people who fit the category that's called extraordinary ability, people of outstanding achievements or amazing ability in something. But mostly it was in the arts, and that became my specialty for my law career.
So then how did you get out here?
Well, I married well. My wife, Lorraine's family built their home in Clearwater Beach in 1962. I met her in 1973 at Asparagus Beach, Atlantic Beach, where all the singles hung out.
Yeah.
And the line then was, will you call me in September? And I called, and we stayed together, and we got married. And we took over the house in 1996, and it was a summer home. Then with COVID, of course, it became more of a regular place. We still live in Manhattan.
Oh, you still maintain a place in Manhattan? Is that why you're not always here?
Exactly. I love our home in Manhattan. I love our home here. It's a wonderful existence.
Yeah, well, I must say I do particularly love the area that we live in. I love it because I swim, and there's water all around me.
You swim in freezing water. You don't wear a wetsuit.
Never.
I'm amazed at the temperatures you swim in.
Well,
This is some amazing person, I have to tell you.
Oh, amazing or nuts, one or the other. But I do.
Part of it, part of
My
it.
last swim last year was November the 4th,
Wow.
and I hope to continue with that. But I love it. I love salt water. Isn't that crazy?
No, not
But
at
I
all.
was born in the Bronx, and I went to Jamesport when I was 8 years old.
Wow.
And after that, my aunt had married a Squires. You know, Squires, this whole area was called Squirestown. And I was in Jamesport, and I remember the day I woke up and I looked out at Bucolic Bay and I said, this is for me. And then we had years at Fire Island, you know, almost 30 years in Fire Island.
Really?
Yes. My sister, Aunt Bancroft, my brother-in-law, Mel Brooks, they owned 2 houses there. And we were devoted to Fire Island, which is truly, I mean,
Must have had some hilarious weekends with Mel Brooks.
we did. But that is really, we still talk and we always call it paradise, really. It was unbelievable.
And there is something about salt water. I mean, doctors know that too. It has curing qualities to it. And it's beautiful. And out here, of course, we have the beautiful ocean. The ocean beaches are matchless. But the bay, Peconic Bay and Gardiner's Bay, is extraordinary.
You're
And
telling me?
The dynamic view from the beach, just looking at boats, seeing the other islands out there, seeing the waves, the way it moves. It's just and all the paddle boarders now and the kayakers. It's really lovely to see.
I tell you, you know, that area that we live in, our Clearwater Beach with that reservation, I will still put my dinner in a little container and go up there and sit and look out over the water because it's such that bay is so gorgeous. It is so gorgeous.
We have so many people who nightly go down for sunset,
Yes.
bringing a beer or cocktails or
Yes.
something and bringing their dogs and their kids.
Yeah.
And it's extraordinary. It was like an area that's sort of overlooked because geographically, it's the very northern tip of East Hampton. 7 miles from town, straight north. Next stop is Gardiner's Island, literally.
Yes.
So one of the nice qualities about it is it takes a while to get there, but no one drives through Clearwater to get anywhere else. This is your destination. So we don't have terrible traffic issues. We have people who speed, of course, so we're way up there, and it was an area that was developed only, 60 years ago, 70 years ago.
Yes, I know. And when you look at it on the map, you see Montauk on this little strip that goes out, and then you see Clearwater Beach on that little strip. And we are surrounded by water, and it's unbelievable. It's the views and the quality of the water. I mean,
Clearwater, the name always comes from something actual real out here. They're very literal with their choice of names. It's Clearwater. It's
it
beautiful.
really is. I mean, I'm still jumping in every day.
I know.
Matter of fact, I said to myself, gee, it's Friday, I'm doing shows. Am I going to be able to get back in time to jump in the water before it gets too cold? Because that's the most important thing in my day is getting in the water. It's really fantastic.
I swept the stairs for you once when the sand accumulated too much over the dunes into the beach.
Yeah,
Because that's your daily routine. It's important to you.
it is. It
know
is.
that.
It is. It's really magnificent, I must say. So we have this lovely area called the Clearwater Beach. What are the jobs that you, as the leader of this beach area, what do you have to do to maintain it?
Well, we have a board of directors. First of all, everyone is a volunteer. Most are retired, not all, but everyone is accomplished in their different occupation, their field. So they bring together an array of skill sets and interests. But what unites everyone is they all chose to live here. And one reason our strife is sort of narrow and limited, to the extent we have strife, is everyone by buying a home in a deed-restricted community. And it's a deed-restricted and exclusively privileged subdivision. That's how it was set up back in 1957. These 3 developers assembled about 900 acres, which was now known as Clearwater, and a smaller area called Lionhead Beach. And they actually got permission back then to dig a channel between to go into Hog Creek from Gardiner's Bay. Hog Creek had been a bit of a fetid swamp, not really a creek, more of a pond. and they got permission. They dug a channel, put up bulkheads. One side, the far west side, became Lionhead Beach, and they formed an association for them. And they have about 190 homes right now in their own marina and a beautiful beach. And our side was known as Clearwater Beach, and they formed an association called Clearwater Beach Association. Over the years, and we have 868 homes now. It started out with 900 some. The town bought about 30 lots under the CPF fund, so they're vacant, they're back to nature. The government owned about 15 that they used for housing Navy personnel back when they had an air base in Montauk. And the rest are owned by the homeowners here. And everyone that comes in reads the deed. It says, you have exclusive use of the reservation. That was when the builders developed it, they set aside, they created like 934 lots, each about half an acre, roughly. They reserved about a 9-acre section, which is known as the reservation, naturally. Yes. It consists of the beach, facing Gardner's Beach, about 130 yards. That's facing Gardner's Beach on the north. And on the west, you have the channel, which is for boats. There's a boardwalk on the channel and about 6 benches and some picnic tables. So fishermen use it. Sunset watchers go there every night. People who want to picnic or have dinner, as you did maybe at twilight.
I do every night.
Then it goes into Hog Creek, and to the left is our marina, which we have established with 120 boat slips. And with the popularity of paddlecraft, kayaks and paddle boards and canoes, every year we have to build more racks. We have 132 people who use paddlecraft. Wow. So you go on a nice day and you go on Hog Creek, where it's very calm always, you'll see dozens of people on their paddle boats. And then some of them go out into the Gardner's Bay through the channel. And we have, in between all that, is about 3 or 4 acres of a lawn and plantings, not natural plantings, natural vegetation, tall weeds and brushes, some trees, a lawn. We established a picnic area with barbecue pit. We have a bocce court, a children's playground set.
It's a new bocce court, I might add.
New court.
Quite beautiful.
It is, and the playground set is very popular with the kids,
yes.
Young families. So that's why people find there's something for everyone. We have half of a basketball court in the parking lot. During some points, people come down and use the lawn for chipping golf or running with their dogs. We also use that lawn for private parties. We had a couple of big weddings this year that were really quite lovely. And luckily, they had beautiful outdoor weather for the party. So there's many things for people to do, but the idea is not to be really a sports recreation center. It is to be a laid-back, relaxed place that it always has been. Actually several real estate brokers actually advertise it's a 60s retro feel. One reason is because nothing changed for most of those 60 years. Only in the last few years did we maybe add a few more amenities like the bocce court, or finally replace the decrepit playground, etc. And it's proved very popular, but it's still a very low-key, relaxed place. And because of that reputation developing and spreading, and mostly because of COVID, we're seeing an influx of new people. I mean, I think 30 years ago, diversity out there consisted of old people and even older people. But now you have young families, you have middle-aged people, people who are both working, but they can work from home, and many renters as well. And you can just see that on the street as they jog and walk their dogs and walk with their kids. So it's much more of a dynamic community. And it's, I'm happy, the board is happy, we enjoy doing it. And our strife is somewhat limited. Also, we don't have really jurisdiction beyond the reservation. So the deeds did restrict people to building single-family homes with a garage. They could add a pool if they want, but no multifamily homes, no condos, no hotels. So no one should be moving in there planning to do that. So it works very well for us to keep that community. So, and these, they have, excuse me, setbacks that are greater than what the town requires. That was to maintain a woodsy atmosphere. So you had to be back 40 feet from the street, not just 30 feet if you build your house.
That's right.
Now, unfortunately, more and more people are because they're putting in swimming pools, they're taking down more and more trees because they need to have a clear area. So we're not as woodsy as we were, but it's still our ethos to be in a woodsy area, and definitely quiet and family oriented.
Well, where you and I live, which is right across the street from each other, there is, right next to me, an area that cannot be developed, and I love that area. And as a matter of fact, there's a kid, he's now a man, who used to play in that area every day when he was a little guy. And I mean, one time his father got a job as a code enforcement, was applying for a job, and they came and interviewed me, and they said, "What kind of a family are they?" I said, "They're fantastic, wonderful. You should see his son is always there playing, and he comes and gets his son, makes him go home and do his homework." So, you know, it really worked out as being a wonderful recreational place for these little kids to develop.
We have woods within the woods.
That's right.
The original developers created water runoff sections. They gave up certain lots to the town. Excuse me. For water runoff. They were somewhat conscious even back in, it was 1957 after all. But the area had been known as, according to some people, Whispering Woods. Whispering Woods. And one resident who I spoke with today remembered her father, who was on the very first board of directors they built in '62, being told by some locals, "You people moving in are ruining our hunting grounds." Remember, this was like almost 1,000 acres of woods. Hog Creek was used for pig farming, where the name
Yes,
comes
I
from.
know. I've heard that.
Yeah.
You know, Averill Geist told me that
There you
story
go.
about how they would bring the pigs up to this area.
And there were hunters and loggers. The only roads in were logging trails. And I think out of the logging trails developed the knowledge they needed water runoff. You couldn't just let it sit there. So when they created lots, they preserved some for, and you and I are adjacent to 6 lots that are sold to the town, given to the town back in 1957. So we have the benefit of those woods.
Yes, I know.
Lucky us.
Do I love those woods?
Yes.
I must admit, they are really very precious. I have it on the side of me and in the front of me, you know, and then your house over there.
We're surrounded by green. It's so nice.
It is incredible. It is incredible. As a matter of fact, my daughter also lives in our area, and I remember when I was looking to buy her a house, you know, to get her settled in this area, because she had my granddaughter, and I wanted my granddaughter around. And I remember going around in our neighborhoods and looking all over and saying, "My God, what a lovely community we live in." And it really is a wonderful community. We are so lucky.
You learn to appreciate trees. They provide shade, they provide greenery, they provide texture and dynamics and the visuals around you. It's amazing. I always encourage everyone, keep your trees. We kept everyone we could. We only cut them down when they're diseased.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, I
the
love
only ones
trees.
I cut down, I actually trimmed a couple because I put solar panels on my roof. And I had
Yeah, you're very good of you.
and I had to trim a couple of them so I could have the sun on them. Because actually, people think that you need sun. You don't need sun, you need light. You know, and I had to trim a few of them. But the rest of my backyard, people have said to me, "Oh, you could build a pool." I said, "I have a pool, only it's called Gardener's Bay."
Called Gardener's Bay, exactly.
Yeah, that's my pool. I love swimming in salt water. Why would I want a pool? You know, with that sort of thing, chlorine. But anyway.
Many people like a pool, period. They don't like the beach, they don't like the sand, whatever. They don't want salt water. But there is a growing suburbanization
Yes.
of what was a semi-rural area. And that's how people choose to build their homes, how they choose to locate them, the size of the homes. But we have no jurisdiction over that, and it's a matter of taste. I think there's a lot of aesthetic resistance to that, though, in Clearwater Beach, and among people in the East End, even those who moved out because of COVID, they don't necessarily want to create Manhattan East.
Yes.
You know, let's keep it what it is.
Yes.
In a nice way. You can have a bigger home, of course, but respect how the nature and the environment makes this what it is.
Yes. And you know, last weekend, not this weekend, but the weekend before, when my son was out, he comes out every other weekend, and we were at the reservation, and the reservation, there was a party for a young kid, and that reservation was just unbelievable. It was unbelievable. You
Don't
would have
tell
thought. Okay. You don't want me telling people. It It was gorgeous, gorgeous. I mean, and we played in the new bocce court.
Well, one of the unusual, special aspects of it, which wasn't really appreciated, I don't think, way back when, our Clearwater Beach and the Lionhead Association are the only two private beach marina communities on the East End. I've heard even on both the East End, either fork.
Really?
Our deed, the actual deed said the reservation is for the exclusive use of the homeowners and their guests. So that's part of the deed. And their homes are restricted in terms of the size, setbacks.
Yes.
I mean, not size, setbacks and single family. But apart from that, they're free. But this is everything else is public, or you have a private land. You border the water. That's fine. But we have, we serve 868 homes. Yet it is private to that community, which makes it sort of special because you see the same people, kind of thing. And it's something we value very much.
And it's actually amazing because when I'm sometimes up at the reservation by myself, and I see these people who all know each other, and it's like, gee whiz, they really have a whole sense of almost like an extended family.
It's a
type
community.
of thing.
The more you're there, the more people you meet.
Yes.
You find people in common. You find people who are amazingly accomplished in so many ways in life, who are just so low-key when they're there. Maybe they're alpha male somewhere else, but they're low-key when they're there. And people who are just interesting from their life stories and where they come from. And it comes from casual conversations because, after all, it's still New York and people just don't get that warm and friendly right away. Yeah. But it happens. You know what? One of the best places, the children's playgrounds swing set. Families get to talk to each other. They become friends. The bocce court now is our newest thing for the older people.
I love the bocce court.
And the beach was always good for that as well.
I always say about the bocce court, my father used to come home from the Bronx, come home on Sunday for dinner late, and we always ate at 3 o'clock or so, and he would come in late, and my mother would say, playing bocce, eh? Bocce really is quite a game. Right? I never even knew about it.
Did he smoke one of those little black cigars like all the old guys?
No, he didn't. He smoked big cigars. It's really a very lovely community, and we are so fortunate to be there. And I'm sure you have to have, as with the board, some sense of maintaining it and keeping it from being overrun.
One person's overrun is another person's necessary improvement. It's interesting. I gathered from attending meetings over the years before I was on the board, and from talking to the older people who moved, built back in the 60s, that it was originally mostly for retirees, second home for working class people, fishermen, and some of the locals, Boddickers lived there. And they didn't want anything fancy, just keep it real simple. And it was real simple. No one spent a dime on anything.
Yeah.
Okay? I mean, the roads were dirt, the dust was everywhere. I've heard stories. They just kept the channel clear of sand and dredge material. And it started around the late 90s, early O's. People wanted improvements, aesthetically, but not to change the nature of it. Not build a clubhouse or a country club with a dining room or anything like that. Keep it real low-key. So the board of directors always had that philosophy. And the board that I'm with now shares that philosophy. If I had them here right now, it would be 11-0 vote. Don't make a change of the nature of what we do. What it is how do we accommodate desires for change while trying to maintain what we are? I mean, the only constant in life is change. So you have to deal with it, but deal with it in a way that reflects and respects our history. And I think because 99% of the people don't come to meetings, they only barely get 10% to vote at anything. That always tells me the other 90% are either really happy with what you're doing or they've given up trying to change you. So, okay, we're doing something right.
Well, they don't know what's going on.
Yeah, they don't pay attention. So, that's the hard part. I think internally it's a lot easier than externally. We have some real challenges. And it comes down to this. The single thing that makes the East End so special is that it is a highly regulated civilization. Back in the 70s, when they voted in these rules that prevented high-rise buildings going up on 3 Mile Harbor, the paving of everything, there was a huge movement against it. There were proposals to do that from what I've read. condos that are 3 or 4 stories high running for a mile or so along 3 Mile Harbor. Would totally change the whole nature of everything. And they've created all these environmental rules and restrictions and codes to minimize growth, prevent the big box stores, the fast food chains and all that, right?
Okay,
But we don't have them here. You want a McDonald's, you go to Southampton. So all that helped create what we have, and with the CPF fund, you have vacant land again. Farmland staying as farmland, not being developed. And that's a great thing. The other side of that is regulators are the ones who run regulatory agencies, and they can drive us nuts. So I could tell you stories, but we have a hard time keeping our channel dredged every year because we have 5 government agencies who have to give us a permit. They don't talk to each other, and they don't really care if their windows of dredging don't coalesce. It's difficult.
Well, you keep up the good work because we really want to maintain this lovely community that we live in. Very, very special. You know, I told you, my son says that the best thing I ever did in my life was buy that house in Clearwater Beach.
Cheers.
And I have to agree with him. It is. Thank you so much for coming, and keep
glad.
up the good work, will you?
I
We
shall.
need you. We need you.
Thank you.
You know, people like you are smart, you know how to take care of things, and that's important.